Hi, I'm Giovanni Bechis. I'm an OpenBSD developer and mail server administrator for my own company. And this is a 10-year story about how we move our setup from bare metal servers running in postfix to VM in high availability running both postfix and OpenSMTPD with shared data. The historical setup was on MySP some OpenBSD mail servers, and they're running the classical postfix, spam-assyn, Amavis, and crew remap. And then during the years we found something should be changed to improve. One of the things was definitely postfix, because complex setups start being too complex for many reasons, due also because of Amavis that acts like a proxy, has its own configuration and so on, and we wanted something simpler. Some of the things we didn't change yet is crew remap. We decided not to go to Dovecot for, in the past it was mainly because we do not need some of the cool features Dovecot has. Now it's probably something we have to do, but I know there's script that should change, convert all maildirs to Dovecot format, but at the moment we have something like half terabytes of emails, so we need a very strict reason to switch to something else before trying to run a script on such mail. There was absolutely no load balancers, no shared storage, just bare metal. It was more than 10 years ago. Some fixed pieces we want to not to move is OpenBSD, because we think it's rock stable, and being one of the developers is something that I'm very familiar with. One other thing is I'm not gonna move from is Apache spam-assyn, because I'm one of developer there as well, so I do not have any reason to move to SPAMD or something, some other software. The first step towards moving to OpenSMTPD was done when OpenSMTPD is being committed to OpenBSD source 3, mainly because we want to differentiate from the main customers' mail servers to dedicated machines to let customers send newsletters, marketing stuff, and so on. And we decided to try the software. The stuff initially was very simple, was just plain virtual setup like password style lines, and it goes very well. So we decided to move to a better setup and to try to integrate on our infrastructure OpenSMTPD in a better way, and to use it as a primary MX as well. The main problem at that time was that there was no filter interface, so it was complicated to integrate anti-spam software. So we had to wait some time till last year, where filters were finally integrated in a very fascinating way, and they are definitely production ready. On our setup, we're using a web panel. That's SPconfig. We modified that to support OpenBSD, and the biggest part is just let the web panel create Bluefish passwords, because otherwise there were some path hard-coded to fix, and nothing complicated. Using the panel let us save data in a way that we can use same data from postfix and for OpenSMTPD in a clean way, and our user can create on their own filters and whatever they want, new aliases, and manage their mail server. First things towards a real high availability setup was absolutely load balancer. So we start moving with PF and the Relay D integration as load balancer, and to separate, to have more machines, and then a shared NFS storage to have measures. The web panel uses MySQL as backend, so we decided to go with a MySQL master replica. So all our users are replicated on more machines. The MX are coupled with the master and slave, and if that switched, master replica continue to replicate, and so we can both change usernames, and users can use their address books and calendars. We use Sogo as calendar server to have this functionality. The simple Relay D setup is just having an MX primary and a fallback, and does a TCP check at the moment that just checks if the port is live or not, and if it's not, a fallback to the secondary. And for the secondary, the configuration is inverted, so we can have one of the two nodes down, and the whole traffic is moved to the primary of the other one. There should be in the future some improvements there, because we would like to have not only check the TCP connection, but also check the average queue of emails and some other things. We'll look into some SMP integration to have more information from our MX servers to detect which is the server to move the traffic to. One important thing was that the replica in MySQL. This setup is possible also with Postgres. It just the web panel doesn't work with Postgres, but you can do whatever you want if you want. And in master replica, you can set the connection between the master and the slave, and it does work just with the first line of configuration file when you say start replicating from this log journal file. The second one, it's a new type of replica that's more stable than the previous. Master replication is fairly stable on OpenBSD. The only problems we had was during some upgrade, because MariaDB certificates master replica on only on the same version of MySQL. They certificate for a mixed version, but there are a lot of conditions like supported officially supported operating system, full moon, and a lot of other things. And so you have to stay to, maybe it's wisely to stop replica before upgrading both servers and reinstruct later. For the mail server, we wanted a setup in which we can switch on from postfix to SMTPD on a single server with a single command. So we decided to go to a configuration that could be easier on the SMTPD part. Maybe for queries, some queries are a bit tricky, but what we wanted is that if there's a need to switch from postfix to OpenSMTPD and back for whatever reasons, like security issues or well, there are some configurations that are better handled on the postfix part and others that are better handled on SMTPD part. So there's been cases in which for a specific customer we had to, it was better to move to also OpenSMTPD or postfix, and we decided to go that path for that reason. First lines are the certificates. SSL certificate, you can use whatever, you can use your own Let's Encrypt or a certificate you bought somewhere. Then there are the definition of the table where your virtual user are, your virtual domain, virtual hazard, and the credentials are the users that you use for SaaS authentication to relay outbound email. The trickiest part is the MySQL queries, because in SMTPD the user cannot be an email address, but on many situations this is not true. So we decided to go for a replace query, and we decided that the underscore was not allowed or not stop on for email addresses. And this has to be done in both in the user info query that find where the maildir path is, and in the query alias that's using mail v alias, which is view, that does more or less the same things as the query info, user info. So this way, it's the aliases are mapped into a fake user, and then it's reconstructed later at MDA level. Then does the entity response setup. That there's a lot of filters available. Some filters we're using, some not. At the moment, with filters on some regasps for the hello name, and we check the reverse DNS. There are many other filters, like for DNSBL. If you fully trust in DNSBL, you can disconnect if it's coming from one of these blacklists. Also, instead of disconnecting the users, there's another keyword that is junk. So if the connection matches this particular filter, the email is moved on the junk folder of the user. and it doesn't check all the subsequent filters. This is very useful if you trust, for example, a particular filter, and if you're not using POP3, because otherwise the mail will not be downloaded by users. Filters are not only to anti-spam setup related, they are related also to some other things like DKIM signing or reporting. The protocol is very easy. It's an ASCII protocol. It's not binary, so you can write filter in whatever language you want, and it's very easy to write and make it work. The DKIM sign filter is as a peculiarity because with the postfix setup we used Amavis, and Amavis can sign, but you had to have a key for every domain. In the DKIM sign filter you have one key for all your domains, so it's a bit different in the setup from one to the other. Then there's a filter spam assassin. There's also filter spamd if you're using the software, that just connects to the spam assassin servers, run the rules, and copy back the results. So, and the mail is rejected or accepted based on the spam assassin configuration. Then filters are applied, so you can decide based on whatever you want which filters you do want. In this setup you have an egress connection, so the public interface where some filters are applied, but it's possible also to change some things. So you can, for example, in some conditions apply some filters, and in some other conditions applies different filters. One of the cool things is that for authentic submission, for example, TLS authentication is required, and there's no way to do a submission or SMTP relay on plain text, like it's possible on postfix on other software. Clamd integration is a bit special because there's more than a way to do it. One way is to use filter clamv, but at the moment it's not production ready because it has some bugs, and there are some races, so it's possible to that emails are mixed up one to concatenated to another. And not all viruses are detected because in the filter there's something we still don't know what that changes the email content when sent to clamv. Maybe some end lines, or not all viruses are detected this way yet. So it's not something to put in production. Another possibility is to use clamv called by spam assassin. There are cool things to use there, but something that's not perfect. The thing that's not perfect is that if a virus is detected this way, the email will be rejected as junk, as not as virus. So the message that will be put to the upstream mail server will be not correct. The cool thing is that with this plugin, it's not officially integrated yet, but we think we will integrate maybe in 4.0 or 4.1 version. It's possible to give different scores to different signatures from ClamAV. So, for example, in ClamAV there are a lot of unofficial signatures that list phishing contents and macroviruses or some other stuff, bad URLs, etc. And some of these are there's a high possibility to have some false positives. With this plugin, we have the possibility to add different scores to different ClamAV signatures. So the official scores, the official signatures, we are certain that are correct. There will be no false positives, and this way we can mark as with a high score. In the unofficial ones, we can change the score or use other rules, so we can check if it's listed in an official signature in ClamAV and some other conditions are met, then we'll mark spam, as otherwise it will continue and will be accepted. For as far as you know, for SPAND users, there's not such feature available, but I'm not sure. So this is something that you have to think about, because integration with an antivirus is something that needs to be on a mail server. This is an interesting feature that it doesn't fully work with postfix, from my experience. That's SRS. It's sender write scheme. That is, when you relay towards another certain external server with dot forward with an alias, that's the problem that SPF is not respected. So SRS rewrites the mail sender, and this way SPF is respected and the mail goes. Gmail, Facebook, and others have it set up such that this kind of relays without SRS doesn't work. With postfix, there are external filters for SRS, but in some cases when vacation is enabled, it doesn't work and it triggers some loops. So it's not something we've found a real way to make it work in a fine way. This way is definitely easier and is one of the cool things that make us move some of the infrastructure into OpenSMTPD. It just has to define a crypto key that's used internally and define that when you relay you have to apply SRS, and that's all. One of the trickiest part is the use of mail drop. Mail drop is the sieve for Dovecot. It does the same things that sieve does for Dovecot. So it filters email based on the mail drop script language, and it checks for quotas and so on. This is the part where we had to use a custom MDA, because MailDrop wants the user in the setup to be an email address, but we had a user that's not an email address, because it doesn't work. So the custom MDA just replace the underscore that we set up first with a SQL query and put it the head sign back. It checks for quota, and quota is available on a global manner. So you have to specify 90, that's 90%. So that's warning when 90% of the quota is full. Email will be sent to the user saying, well, you're quite full. The vmail is the user that we use for virtual delivery. So the user that will exec the maildrop script, and then a lot of other parameters that are used inside maildrop to detect the sender, the aliases, and so on, to go with parsing its scripts and doing actions. Then we have once we defined the actions, we can define when those actions are applied, like with match from any to one of our domains, put it on their mail folder through the custom MDA, or deliver local if the mail is local, or if mail is authorized, you can relay outbound with SRS in this case. Log files in SMTPD are a bit, I think, strange for respect to what other mail servers are. There are a lot of informations, but it's not as easy to correlate those informations. I think this is something that could be improved, and maybe a report filter could help this way to create a custom log file to parts to use, for example, in the Kibana or other analysis tools. This is one of the things that's missing, is that when, for example, SpamB detects that there's a spam, in the line there is no information about the users this spam is sent to. This is because the user that is passed to spam assassin is unknown in this case. This is something that is discussing on. Spam assassin, you can send it to the server a user that usually is the email address that you are sending to. This is used to have custom rules per user, custom score per user, and some other informations. As standard setups, they are different user by user on user cases, not on alias cases, and or even on domain cases in some way. And this cannot be done at the moment in the filter, because the user where the email will be delivered is unknown at that stage yet. We have just the informations of the mail itself, so the RSCPT2, but that information is not correct for spam accessing, because, for example, the RSCPT2 could be an alias, could be a message from to a mailing list, so it's not, the information is not fully there. There are also some other filter, like Milter and postfix, for example, try harder to check what the username could be by looking into RCPT2 headers and doing some tricks to try to detect what the correct user will be and passes to spam assassin. This could be done, but there are some parts in the Milter code that could be used to mimic the logic that are a bit strange, like it tries to connect with SendMail to itself to detect if the user exists or not. There are some strange things that are not that correct to do. So we're trying to find a better way to find the correct user, or something that it's at least similar to the correct user, and put it to spam assassin. And this way we will have also in that line some informations about the user that the mail will be logged to. So at the moment, log files are there are quite all informations, so you can look into, but they are not created in a way that's easy for a log analyzer to check and to store into a web GUI like Kibana or so on. To do that, we use the logstash filebit. So we have some filters that analyze the log files and correlates with some other informations to produce those information and save them into Elasticsearch. This is done with the same filter for both postfix servers and SMTPD servers, so we can have a global information about who is sending, who's relay with which server, if how many people are relaying, for example, with SMTPD or with postfix. We use that also to analyze which are the most hit rules in Spam Assassin. So we can decide, for example, if there's a particular new spam campaign and a lot of rules of the same rule that has a very low score is hit, we can think about improving this score to block this campaign proactively. And it's there are in log files there are informations to use geolocalization so to detect even if a user, for example, is trying to send emails from from different nations in the same at same time, which is something that will probably be an alarm, because it could very probably be an attack of impersonation of that user. So the part that's missing at the moment is the spam assassin per user setup. This is one thing that I think will be fixed very soon, and this is something that prevents us to move some users to this setup, because it's something that some user wants, and it's It can be done for some domains, but not for all. We would like to get rid of the mail drop wrapper and use directly mail drop, because it's the mail drop wrapper just fixes the parameters with some simple checks and then calls mail drop via exactly. So it's something we would like to get rid, and the only way will be probably to modify the web interface to let it save directly the user. So it's something that will probably touch more the web interface than mail drop. So we have to decide which is the path to go, if maintaining mail drop wrapper and let it do, for example, additional logging or something like that, or change our web setup. One other thing is that could be done is gray listing. At the moment, there's no officially committed gray listing filter, but there is a gray list filter that's been written by Gilles that is a bit different from the typical gray listing setup, because this filter is SPF aware, so it knows and records if email comes from a domain that has SPF setup. So if a second connection comes from a different IP addresses, it can map these IP addresses in the SPF address space and let it go in without waiting like all classical gray listing setups. This is interesting, and it's something that I think could be implemented and should be committed to the official source tree. Then definitely RelayD setup based on more data. This would need implementing scripts or SNMP or something like that to be able to decide in a more fine way, more granulate way, which is the server that's currently alive. This is mainly because TCP connection works most of the time, even if, for example, there's a high loader average, and in this case TCP connection works, so emails continue to flow to the wrong server, and it's be wise to switch the server switch the mail queue on another server, so the load average could go down. It could be analyzed if needed to. So this is more or less finished. We're going to move some more domains to this kind of setup, and to improve that, to be able to not getting rid of postfix, definitely, but to integrate postfix with something that's mainly BSD based and more easier to configure and more easier to manage. Yeah.
Are there plans to do post-queue filtering like with the Mavis, like in Postfix, or you do only pre-queue filtering?
This is pre-queue filtering. In the past we used Mavis with OpenSMTPD like a proxy, so within post-queue, so it's possible to, yeah.
Please don't forget to repeat the question.
Yeah, sure, yeah, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
very much.
Okay. Thank you.